All right, breaking news out of the NFL this morning. According to Adam Schefter, the Cowboys have fired defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. Dallas now will be going on to their fourth different defensive coordinator in 4 seasons. Jeff Saturday joining us here at the desk right now. But Stephen A., I'll start with you. Your reaction to this firing?
No surprise, deservedly so. I certainly don't want to be saying that as holidays are over. So I don't have to be in that nice, that generous kind of mood. But in the same breath, I don't want to celebrate a human being's firing. Right. I don't want to do that. I will say, however, it was warranted. You're giving up over 30 points a game, one of the worst defenses in all of the National Football League. And obviously, when you look at how high-powered their offense was, if you did a better job, then guess what? You know, this team might have had a shot. Worst in points allowed, 30.1, pass yards per game, etc. Now, what I will say, however, is that it didn't help that you lost Micah Parsons before the season started. It didn't help that Jerry Jones waited right until the trading deadline, you know, to get Williams and what have you, and Logan Wilson and these guys. Jerry Jones did not help the situation, which he has admitted. Right. So the fact that he admitted that and Eberflus is still gone seems a bit shaky, but in the end, it was apparent very, very early that this man did not need to be the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. So we can't say it was the wrong decision. What we're saying is the wrong decision was to hire him in the first place, because it was clearly obvious after the situation in Chicago. At the very least, the man needed a year off.
He was a good defensive coordinator for them a couple years back.
Yeah,
and he's been a good coach in this league. That, you know,
head coach?
No.
Okay.
No. Good defensive coach. If you had Vic Fangio or you had Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator of the Cowboys this year, you're still a wild card team. The defensive talent was so terrible. So to me, not a scapegoat per se, but like doesn't move the needle for me news-wise. Yes, they had the worst defense in the league. Usually you lose your job on that. That's the business.
Yeah. And I think when you heard Jerry Jones, even a couple of weeks ago, because Shadi kind of gave him a, hey, I've been in his place. I've been the coordinator that's been getting bashed on, right? He's kind of lived through these tough pains. And they got a little better, you know, right at the trade deadline, and it kind of went back in the tank. But when Jerry Jones said, hey, you know, all these quarterbacks seem to only play well when they play us. And Nail was in the coffin already. Like, you just pack, guaranteed he had already packed stuff up. Like, there's no surprise. When the owner of the team, who's also the general manager, and by the way, you kind of flipped it back and was like, well, I didn't have all the players I expected to have. That's going back at the owner and GM. That relationship wasn't going to continue to work. So I don't think any surprise. You don't ever want to see guys get fired. It's everybody in this business gets fired. Players get fired. Coaches get fired. It sucks as part of the business, and Eberflus he'll find another gig and be back at it.
The importance, but see, at time, and I agree with you, I'm not disagreeing, but at some point in time, it can't be about that. It has to be about, it can't be about they'll get another job. Nah, man, you got to treat this like this is your last opportunity.
Yeah.
And not enough people. Sometimes it's players, but sometimes it's coaches, and we never talk about that. We never talk about how some coaches get lax, some coaches get comfortable, some coaches do the same old, and don't go that extra mile to exhaust every measure. When we rave about some of the great coaches, whether it's Belichick in the pros, the Parcells of the world, the Bill Walshes of the world back in the day and stuff like that, or with colleges with the Sabins, now Kirby Smarts, Signetti and these guys, and you see what they're doing. You don't see ordinary. And we're not just talking about results. We're seeing habits. We're seeing guys that are all in. It's like, yo, what are we doing here? We heard Lane Kiffin tell a story about how they won a national championship, and the next day he comes into office, and Nick Saban's like, we behind. Because we've been preoccupied with these players. We behind recruiting. Exactly. Let's make sure we're doing X, Y, and Z. I gave a speech at Alabama that Paul Feinbaum will tell you about at Nick Saban when Nick Saban was there. Nick Saban, you know, he's sitting in the office talking with me privately for an hour, and he's talking about First Take. And he's talking about this business, and he's talking about everything. He said, well, you go from here. Up. You keep going. You don't stop. There's no such thing as complacency. Complacency, for the most part, we're always talking about players. There are coaches that get comfortable with the same old that they always did, which is why they ain't great. And we don't talk enough about that. If it were a player, we'd do it. We got to make sure we mention it with them.
Yeah, that defense has been struggling all season long, so the writing was definitely on the wall. All right, let's go to the Steelers in the AFC North.
That hoodie bandit, Jeff Saturday on Overreaction Tuesday with Dan Graziano. It is time to play the game. Now, Dan, the AFC North champion Steelers. That's where we're going to start. They can make a run here in the playoffs. Is that an overreaction or not an overreaction?
It's an overreaction. I mean, good for them for winning that game on Sunday night. They're a well-coached team that's going to be prepared, but they just don't have the team. I mean, like this Houston defense should be able to get after 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers pretty easily. I think, Nico Collins, watching Zay Flowers get open the way he did Sunday, is probably enjoying his early part of his film session week. I think Zay's still running free. I'm not sure he knows the season's over yet. Just waiting for somebody to come cover him. I just don't think the Steelers have the horses to win a couple of postseason games. They needed to kick the sail wide right in order to even be here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree right here with an overreaction. I mean, you think that it's been a great run for the Steelers to get where they are. Obviously, a massive win over a division rival being the Ravens. You see Tomlin celebrating the missed kick and the excitement. But the reality is the last 3 playoff teams they played, they've lost all 3. The last one was against the Bills where they lost 26-7. That's not a strong way to go against playoff teams. Everybody else that they've beaten is not in the playoffs or anywhere near them. So, unfortunately, I don't think they make a playoff run either.
All right, let's head to the South. Dan, the Carolina Panthers cannot possibly beat the Rams again. Overreaction or not?
It's an overreaction. I mean, I was sitting there a couple weeks ago when they did it. I know Matthew Stafford turned the ball over 3 times in that game, which probably isn't likely to happen again. But, they beat the corners. If they can keep the pass rush off of Bryce Young, he's shown that he can beat the Rams' corners with his receivers. I wouldn't call it likely, but I don't think it's impossible that Carolina gets a home win against the Rams on Saturday. We have seen home teams with 500 or worse records in the playoffs win their first-round game 4 out of the 6 times it's happened previously, so not out of the question.
I'm going to go not an overreaction here, and I get the whole it's possible. I'm not saying it's everything's possible, but the chances of Matthew Stafford playing as poorly as he did since the last time he was in Carolina, I don't foresee it happening. I think when you look at the Rams, they understand this is a very good opportunity for them to hoist another Lombardi trophy. They probably have the most balanced football team entering the playoffs on the NFC side. That does not mean you win it, but you don't go into Carolina and lose again. I just don't see the Panthers having that type of miracle finish like they did the last time.
I want to get more on the quarterback there for the Rams. That's Matthew Stafford. He is the MVP frontrunner this morning to win his first MVP award. But Drake May is right behind him. So, Graz, I'm going to start with you. If I say Drake May should win the MVP, is that an overreaction or not an overreaction?
Not an overreaction. Jeff can tell me how many North Carolina MVPs there have been, but I do definitely think that number should grow by 1. He had a better year than Stafford. His team had a better year. His team finished in first place. Stafford's finished in second. Drake May had a higher QBR, not only than Stafford, but than anyone else in the league. And they want to ding him for the schedule. I say, forget that. In common opponent games, Drake May was much better against teams that he and Matthew Stafford both played than Matthew Stafford was. I don't think the schedule argument holds up. QBR adjusts for opponent anyway. Drake May should be your MVP.
Amen. Amen. Look at you. Not an overreaction. Graz gave you all the reasons, and not just because he's a Tar Heel. I love that he is, but he should definitely be the MVP of the league. Listen, he has played lights out, and to Dan's point, in every major category other than touchdowns, he has outplayed him. And against common opponents, he's outplayed him. Drake May has had a fantastic year. And by the way, this is not a Lifetime Achievement Award. I get what Matthew Stafford is and how great his career has been. Do not make it that. This is about who's played the best this season. Drake May has put himself in that place as MVP.
If they let him throw from the 1-yard line as often as the Rams let Stafford, then the touchdown numbers would be closer. I'm just saying.
Amen.
Sorry,
Amen.
David Rose on the research. If Drake May were to win MVP, that would double UNC's MVP total. Because Lawrence Taylor, UNC,
let's go,
won the MVP. That's David Rose on the research. Dan and Jeff, plenty more of them. Top of the hour on Get Up.